If you're planning on going to university or college next year in the UK, then you'll be going through something called the UCAS application process and be writing something called a personal statement. Now, if you're struggling with it, haven't started it yet, or are close towards polishing out, then this video is for you. Hi guys, my name is Laksh. I'm an aerospace engineering graduate working in the UK space sector, and I also manage my own tuition company. In this video, I'll be going through a brief guide and top tips for writing a personal statement for the UCAS application process. So, whilst managing my tuition company over the past 4 years, I've worked with loads of students in helping them write their personal statements for courses like architecture, engineering, physics, English literature. But of course, this short video should be useful to you, whichever course you're doing. And hopefully before you watch this video, you've decided what course you want to do at university. So if you haven't decided what to do, pause this video, go and decide what you want to do at university, then come back on how to write this personal statement guide. So you might already know this, so feel free to skip around using the timestamps in the description to the bits that are most relevant to you. But I'll be starting off with what is the personal statement. Now basically it's a short document about you and why you want to do the course you have chosen to do at university or college. It goes alongside your qualifications and your references as part of your application process, so it's a place where you can really add a personal touch to your application and tell the admissions tutors a bit more about yourself. So we need to think about what we want to achieve through this personal statement, and it's hopefully to show the person who's going to be reading it that you're amazing, you love the course, you're going to be a perfect fit for them at university, and you're better than the hundreds of other students who have applied for the course. Also, another thing to bear in mind is that if you're applying for a competitive course at a top university, then your personal statement is going to matter even more, because it could be the differential factor in you being invited to an interview or receiving an offer. But before we start, I'd urge you to go and visit the web pages of the courses you'll be applying to at university, and reading those pages 2 or 3 times, the bits where they show you exactly what the course is about, the modules you'll be doing, because that stuff is going to be extremely useful for when you're writing it. So the personal statement must be within 4,000 characters, which is 47 lines, which is about 500 words, and I'd probably split it into 4 paragraphs. The first would be an introduction, about 100 words, paragraph 2, about 150 words, paragraph 3, also 150 words, and then a conclusion, about 100 words, which should add up to about 500 words. The introduction, which is about 100 words long, should only be about the course and you. The 2 main things you want to get across here is why you're excited for this course and what makes you different. Now remember that most tutors are probably not going to read the entire thing, so they're probably going to read the introduction, so it's really important. This introduction is amazing, and it's punchy. Please make sure it's not cringy, don't have any quotes in there from anyone, and just keep it really, really simple and to the point about why you're interested or what made you interested in this course. Don't say something like, oh, I was interested from a young age in this, because you probably weren't, and you have to be really honest in this. So this introduction, I'd recommend making 2 or 3 bullet points about what truly makes you interested. So move away from trying to write something down, just spend some time by yourself and think about what made you interested in that specific field. Now if it's maths that you're applying for, was it one of your maths lessons, or was it a specific theory you came across? It must be something different that is truly unique to you. Don't say, oh, I love numbers, because so many other people are going to say that and it's not going to work. And you don't really love numbers. There's something about the way the numbers work that you're interested in. That's just an example. Maybe you want to pick out a specific theory or a specific concept in the certain field you're applying to, something that you're genuinely interested in, and forming the introduction or starting off the introduction around that concept that truly inspired your interest in that field. So paragraph 2, which is about 150 words, is all about your academics and the course. Remember, the introduction was about you and the course. The second one is about the academics and the course. And here you really want to capture the evidence as to why you're interested, and what have you done over the past 6 months, a year, 5 years possibly, that shows that you're interested in, for example, history. Have you been reading a specific magazine for the past 5 years and following it religiously? Have you been religiously following a scientist or someone doing something amazing within that field? Don't say Elon Musk. So this is where you really show the evidence. Stuff like if you've been to a specific lecture, whether that's virtual or in person, mention that. If you've read a book, maybe mention something from the book rather than just saying, oh, I read the book. Also, this is the bit where you chuck in a bit about your personal work experience, because that, of course, is going to be very, very unique to you. I'd probably even recommend starting this paragraph with a work experience, because work experience really shows initiative and that you've gone out there, you've got a part-time job alongside your education to show that you're really interested in this field. So this whole second paragraph is going to be based around these things about the evidence of what you've said in paragraph 1, the introduction. It's all going to be the evidence around it, and hopefully if they start reading this, they'll read on. I hope. So paragraph 3 is also about 150 words. It's all about your other life stuff now. You've talked about your academics, you've talked about why you're interested in the course, you've talked about the evidence as to why you should be able to do the course and why they should accept you. This stuff is where you can really add a more kind of personal touch to it as to what things you're interested in. Is it a sport, an instrument, or have you been head boy or a prefect at your sixth form or school? This is stuff where you can mention that. Have you done a volunteering activity that you really enjoyed? Now, don't go off topic here. It's really important after you have read the course web pages that you cater these skills and hobbies and interests towards the course. Now, what I mean by this is if you are aiming for a scientific course or something that's very technical, what interest do you have that is technical? And it's showing the admissions tutor that yes, okay, this guy or this girl is really knows what they're talking about. So have a think about what your hobbies and interests are, and then think about what the skills are required for the course you're wanting to do, and think about how you can phrase some of the skills that you have learned through your hobbies and interests and how they can actually be targeted toward the course you're doing. So finally, moving on to the conclusion, which should be between 75 to 100 words long, approximately. This is something where you can really capture the entire essence of your personal statement through 4 or 5 sentences. Chances are that they might not read the middle 2 paragraphs or introduction if they don't feel like it, and they might just look at the conclusion to see the conclusion of your statement. So it's really important you capture the entire essence of your application through this mini paragraph. So the things you need to talk about are the main highlights of why you're interested in the course, what is it about you that is amazing, and why you will succeed in the specific field. So yeah, you might want to link it back to what you said in the introduction, to what you said in the paragraph 1, to what you maybe said in paragraph 2, and make that flow into a really nice conclusion as to why you think you're amazing and want to do this course. Also, I'd recommend reading the first 3 paragraphs loads and loads of times before writing the conclusion, because it will help you gauge an understanding towards how the conclusion should flow, rather than being a little bit abrupt, which can happen in some personal statements. Right, moving on to the do's and don'ts section of the personal statement. This is where I'll be going through what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Of course, really simple. Top 5 do's, here we go. Do number 1 is do read it loads and loads and loads and loads of times. Proofread it, proofread your words, proofread your language, proofread what you've said about you, make sure it's true, and just make sure it makes sense, because the amount of times I come across personal statements which just don't make sense because there's some grammar error or something else, it's just ridiculous. So do read it loads of times. It will help you understand whether what you're saying is the truth about you and help you understand if you're on the right path. Do number 2, do loads of drafts. It's never going to be right the first time. I think the average drafts I've come across is about 13-14 drafts that people do before they get the perfect one. So don't be disheartened if you don't get it right the first time. It's normal not to get it right the first time, and you're going to have to do many iterations of it in order to hit the sweet spot of your statement. So yeah, loads of drafts, loads and loads and loads of drafts. Do number 3 is mean what you say. Please be really honest, because if you get invited for an interview, chances are they're going to have the personal statement printed right there in front of you on the desk, sitting opposite you, and they would probably have highlighted a few things that they've seen about you that they like or that they don't like, or they want to question you on those things. So if you're not honest and you say something that is not you, you're going to be caught out at the interview stage. Do number 4 is research what your course is about. I think I mentioned this right at the start, but it's so important that you research what your course is about, especially if it's something that you don't come across at school. For example, accounting. If you're applying for accounting, that's not something you've really done throughout your school. Whereas if you're applying for something like physics, it's a subject that you've studied through secondary school and probably sixth form at A level. So if you're applying for a course that specifically is not a subject that you study at school, research it to the max. Like, read the web page of the course at different universities, see what the modules are, see kind of the skills that are required, look at the keywords they use. What is it about? What's the generic feel? What is the vibe of the subject saying? Do number 5 is do your research. Now, do number 4 was do your research about the course. Do number 5 is do your research about the field that your course is in. Now, this is really important, and chances are that if you're super passionate about the course you're going to be doing at university, you probably research and follow people and companies within that field. But if you don't, because it's something that you haven't done, then I highly recommend following the companies that you're interested in that are in that course, following high profile people within that field, because that stuff will probably help you out at the interview and generally help your understanding of the field that you're going into. Great, so that's the do's. Now moving on to the don'ts. Don't number 1, and this is something I come across all the time in personal statements, is flowery language. Please stick to basic English. What's going to happen is admissions tutors are not going to read your personal statement. They are going to scan your personal statement. So they're going to skim read it or scan it. What you want to do is really, really make their life easy as to what you're trying to portray and say through your personal statement. If you have words in there that you have to Google to understand what they mean, you're not going down the right path, because chances are they might have to Google those words, and they're not going to do that. Do number 2 is don't copy someone. I mean, seriously, if you're having to copy someone else's personal statement, don't do that. Number 3 is don't mention a specific college or university by name, because you can only submit one personal statement, and that same personal statement is going to be going to your 5 different applications. So if you mention a specific university or college by name, then the other 4 are going to be like, hang on, what's going on? Do number 4 is don't make spelling mistakes or grammar errors. It's just obvious. Any application, a spelling mistake or grammatical error doesn't look good, and it will probably mean that you're shifted to the no or rejected pile instantly, unfortunately. Don't number 5 is don't give it to too many people to proofread. Proofread it yourself as many times as you possibly can, but don't make the mistake of handing it out to too many people, because that just leads to confusion. Different people have different perspectives on how much you should talk about yourself and express yourself in your personal statement, and in different ways. So what will happen is you'll just end up being really, really confused if you give it to loads of different people. I'd probably say stick to around 4 or 5, and those 4 or 5 people should vary from like your teachers, maybe a friend, and maybe like a family member who's older than you, who has gone through the application process, who you think is reliable. So if you guys are struggling with finding enough people or the right people to read your personal statement, here is a little bonus for you guys for watching till the end. If you would like me to proofread your personal statement, just email me at the email in the description below, and I'd be really happy to kind of help you maybe refine it or proofread it for you. Also, an extra bonus tip for you is the flow. The flow of your personal statement is so important, because I know I said earlier that they might not read, the admissions tutor might not read the entire thing, and they might just skim read it, or they might scan it, but you have to be prepared for the worst, and you can't leave bits out, and someone might end up reading the entire thing to see what kind of candidate you are, and if you're the right type of person for the course at the specific university. So it's really important that your personal statement flows. After you have made a plan of the things you want to talk about in your personal statement, in paragraph 1, the introduction, in paragraph 2, the academic side of things, in paragraph 3, the non-academic side of things, and finally the conclusion. After you have made all those points of what you want to talk about, think about which points within each section link to each other. And that's really important, because when I say it has to flow, I don't just mean the sentences have to flow and the connectives you use have to flow. The topics you are talking about have to flow together through the sentences. So that's something you should try and think about. So I hope you guys found this mini personal statement guide thingy useful, and I wish you the best of luck for your personal statement and your entire UCAS application process. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll try and answer them as best I can. And take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.